In the soft light of dawn, Northern California appears untouched by danger. The water of Clear Lake sits still and reflective, like a sheet of glass unbroken by time. Vineyards stretch over ancient volcanic soils, and small towns wake slowly, unaware of anything unusual. The landscape looks tranquil, almost eternal. But beneath this stillness, something ancient and powerful begins to move. Far below the surface, deeper than any drill has reached, molten rock pushes into the crust. Pressure builds. The earth shifts. Most of us imagine volcanoes as isolated mountains with glowing red lava pouring down their slopes. But California's volcanic story is different, hidden beneath lakes, forests, and geothermal fields. Clear Lake, a beautiful freshwater lake 2 hours north of San Francisco, sits on top of one of the most closely monitored volcanic systems in the state. Researchers classify it as a very high-threat volcano, not because it erupts frequently, but because of its location near communities, highways, and critical infrastructure. The last major eruption here occurred roughly 10,000 years ago, which from the perspective of geology is not ancient history, it is recent. The volcanic field beneath Clear Lake is still active, leaking volcanic gases and generating heat that fuels one of the world's largest geothermal power operations. Most days the activity is invisible, but recently the instruments watching the volcano detected unusual signals, swarms of tiny earthquakes deep below the surface, and changes in how gas escapes into the water and soil. These tremors were too small for residents to feel, yet their fingerprints appeared clearly on scientific monitoring systems. Gas sensors recorded fluctuations in carbon dioxide around geothermal wells. Monitoring satellites observed subtle changes in elevation, parts of the ground rising, other parts sinking, as if the Earth were inhaling and exhaling. For volcanologists, these movements are not random. They are signs of magma shifting beneath the crust. Clear Lake is not the only restless giant in California. Further east in the Sierra Nevada lies the Long Valley Caldera, a massive volcanic depression rivaling Yellowstone in scale. In the last few years, scientists mapped its underground structure using a network of fiber optic cables and machine learning. Thousands of tiny earthquakes were analyzed, revealing an enormous system extending nearly 30 kilometers deep. The findings suggested that the volcano is still alive and moving, its magma chambers not frozen solid, but shifting, evolving, and releasing fluids. Researchers describe the system as restless. Even more unexpected, the new data revealed that the ground movements in Long Valley may be caused not by a rising pool of magma increasing in heat, but by gas and hydrothermal fluids migrating through cracks. In simple terms, the volcano isn't preparing to explode, it's breathing. And yet, what makes volcanoes dangerous is that breathing can change suddenly into something else. To understand what might happen next, we need to understand how a volcano wakes up. Deep within the Earth, magma rises when temperatures and pressures push molten rock into the crust. As the magma rises, it releases gases locked inside it. These gases, carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, and water vapor, escape into soil, water, and the atmosphere. If magma continues to press upward, the ground begins to deform. Sometimes it rises gently like dough swelling as it ferments. Other times cracks form rapidly, producing small earthquakes as the pressure forces open pathways. The volcano does not roar its warning, it whispers in tremors, gases, and subtle deformation. Scientists know these signs well because they have seen them before. In 1980, Mount St. Helens in Washington began with small earthquakes and minor explosions. Within weeks, a massive bulge formed on the mountain's northern side. The volcano erupted violently, flattening forests and sending ash across the United States. Before it erupted, the signs were all there, but even experts underestimated the speed and force. In California, the signs today are similar but more ambiguous. The Clear Lake volcanic field emits volcanic gases in such high concentrations that small animals have died near certain springs, where gas collects in low pockets. At a ridge known as Gas Hill, the ground releases enough carbon dioxide to be dangerous in enclosed spaces. Residents drive over volcanic terrain every day without knowing it. More than 17,000 people live inside the boundary of the volcanic field, and more than 25 million vehicles pass through the area every year. The irony is that the same volcanic heat that threatens the region sustains it. The geothermal plants around Clear Lake supply renewable energy to thousands of homes, feeding electricity into the state's power grid. Volcanic soils enrich vineyards, making the region profitable for wine production. People have built their lives on top of a volcano, not because they ignore the danger, but because the benefits are tangible and immediate. But volcanoes offer benefits only until the day they don't. If Clear Lake or Long Valley erupted, the effects would be catastrophic. Pyroclastic flows, clouds of ash and gas hotter than molten metal, move faster than freeway traffic and destroy everything in their path. Lava flows would burn and bury infrastructure. Lahars, volcanic mud flows that behave like wet concrete, could rush down river channels, wiping out bridges and towns. The greatest danger for millions, however, wouldn't be lava or ash on the ground. It would be ash in the air. Volcanic ash can shut down airports, damage engines, and contaminate water systems. Even a minor eruption could halt air traffic across the western United States. California's government is aware of the threat. Emergency services and the California Volcano Observatory work together to monitor volcanic activity, maintain hazard maps, and plan evacuation routes. They watch the volcanoes every day, reading tremors, gas reports, and ground data. The people monitoring these volcanoes are trained to detect the earliest signs of trouble. Yet monitoring does not guarantee prediction. Scientists can detect magma rising, but they cannot predict whether it will break the surface tomorrow, next year, or a century from now. A volcano can show all the signs of awakening: earthquakes, gas emissions, ground swelling, and then fall quiet again. Or it can remain silent and erupt suddenly with little warning. The Earth writes its own timeline. So where does that leave us? It leaves us facing uncertainty. A volcano awakening does not mean an eruption is imminent, but it does mean the system is active, evolving, and very much alive. The landscapes that seem permanent are sitting on top of forces that operate on their own schedule. The question we should ask isn't whether California's volcanoes will erupt again. They will. The real question is whether we will be ready when they do. So now, as we end this deep dive, imagine once more that serene morning at Clear Lake. The still water, the quiet vineyards, the peaceful towns, and beneath it all the pulse of heat, the shifting of stone, the deep breath of the earth. If you lived on top of that sleeping giant, and you knew it was waking up, would you stay? Tell us in the comments below. And if this video opened your eyes to the living earth beneath your feet, subscribe, like, and share. Because more discoveries are coming and the planet is still writing its story.